Today will be a day to remember for the rest of your life. The Pro Football Hall of Fame is excited to present the Heart of a Hall of Famer program connected by Extreme Networks. With over 100 Hall of Famers participating, we have reached 47 states and countries all over the world, sharing the message that football is more than a game and can teach Americans important life values like commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty.
You have to make right decisions even when nobody's watching you.
Well, respect is not just given out. It's not handed out like a brochure. It's earned.
Today, you are presented with an opportunity to meet and learn from one of the greatest football players of all time. But more important than that, the chance to see that their Hall of Fame life wasn't given to them. They didn't roll out the bed great. They put the work in, on the field, in the weight room, in the classroom, in their communities. They made themselves a Hall of Famer on and off the field.
Your feet can't take you where your mind's never been.
Because you can make it, but it's just gonna take a little hard work and some effort and the drive and determination.
And today, you will learn you can do the same thing they did. You don't have to have a gold jacket or a bronze bust to make a difference in the lives of others. It's your decision whether you want to be a successful student, son, daughter, brother, or sister.
If attitudes are contagious, is your attitude worth catching?
It's integrity as well, because when you decide to pursue something and you don't quit, that says a lot about you.
Commitment to excellence. We can all aspire to be the best.
Welcome to a once-in-a-lifetime program, the Heart of a Hall of Famer program, connected by Extreme Networks.
I got John Randle over here messing with me during the breaks. I told him I'm going to try to keep it together, though, all these guys.
Little Muscle, Johnny Randle, the hardest working man I ever been around.
And to the men I lined up with every Sunday, were great players, and even today, some of them are great friends. Carl Lee, my right corner, Keith Millard, John Randle. We shared a lot of all-pro years together. During those years, Keith and John provided the inter-defensive line competition, where all three of us fought to lead our team in sacks and gain the top honor in the National Football League. Guys, I want to thank you for that push and that drive to move me to the next level. Thank you.
To John Randle, I'm not here today without going against you every day the first 3 years of my career in practice.
And as a late bloomer, I watched a lot of guys, and there's so many guys that are up here I want to acknowledge, because I'm not me without you. I looked at your styles and I took from you. I had to learn from being visual. And the late Reggie White was someone I had to learn from. John Randle, I read a story about you in the grocery store doing pass rush moves on shopping carts. I would do that.
So thank you to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, everyone who played a part and elected me for making this small town kid dream come true. Thank you.
All right, with that, I'd like to welcome everybody here to Heron High School in Indianapolis, Indiana, the home of the 2024 NFL Combine. That if you're on Twitter or any social media, you're seeing that's getting started today with a bunch of interviews. And we'll soon see on our TVs a bunch of guys running 40 yards and lifting weights and jumping as high as they can. But today, we're super excited to be here at Heron High School for another edition of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer series, connected by Extreme Networks, featuring gentleman sitting right here beside me, the gentleman you just heard a bunch of other Hall of Famers talking about there on your screen, Mr. John Randle. My name is Jake Ray. I'm the Youth Education and Leadership Manager at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. And I am super excited to be given this opportunity to speak to John today, as well as all the other students who we're going to hear from. A little bit about us at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's our mission to honor the greatest of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence together. And those values we promote are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty, all of which made this gentleman right here a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and a great football player, but it made him a great man and a great individual as well, and truly can make anybody tuned in today a great student. Before we hear from John and everything that how those values impacted his life, there are some thank yous I'd like to pass out. First and foremost, I'd like to thank all the our great partners at Extreme Networks for everything they do for us at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They give students all over the country the opportunity to take part in this program, and we could not do it without their support. So thank you to Extreme Networks. Secondly, I'd like to thank all the teachers, administrators, educators that allowed us to virtually be in their classroom today. We appreciate you allowing us to be a small part of your students' learning experience, and a special shout out to the staff and students here at Heron High School for allowing us to actually physically be in their school for the program today. And then lastly, have to thank the students. If you've seen this program before or you've watched, you know, I have a bunch of questions, but nobody wants to hear me talk for the next hour. So we're going to hear from you today. This is the opportunity for students to actually ask a question to a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's not every day that students, you get the opportunity to do this. So we are super excited to hear all the questions we get today. No matter where you're watching though, whether you're here in person, we got a great audience in front of us here in Heron, or you're watching us online or on YouTube. If you're taking pictures, video, make sure and you're tweeting those out, make sure you tag at Pro Football HOF and at Extreme Networks and use the hashtag HOF values in your post. Just might be reshared. So without further ado, and enough of me talking here for an introduction, I'd like to welcome Pro Football Hall of Famer, give him a round of applause, Mr. John Randle. So John, we obviously you spent about 20 minutes here before the program got started talking to the students. And a lot of great things came up, but I want to go back to those values I mentioned: commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty. Obviously, they all have the different impact on your life, but was there one that stood out to you as more important than the others? Or I like to say, were they like a team? They kind of all work together to make you the person that you are.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm very honored to be here. I think they all kind of play a part into it. First of all, I don't see myself as a Hall of Famer. I just see myself as a person as I think we were referring to before, where it's about doing things that when no one's watching. And I think for myself, it goes back to my mom, being around her, where she was always never looking at things half empty. She looked at everything half full. And being around her and learning from her, I think it was her character played a big part in her. And to where our household, we didn't have much money, but we had so much love, and love and respect goes so far in this world. And that was a big part of her, who she was and how she treated us. And so for us, I mean, it wasn't about saying you in the hall. To me, it's about who you represent. And that's where I saw my life. That's where I saw how I wanted to be known as a person who cares and gives back to the community or to the people you're around, to show other people what you can do and just to represent.
And I think it's cool because those values we talk about, obviously you're a football player, you're a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but those examples you gave right there, nothing to do with the game of football.
Exactly.
And it just shows how important they are and how they transcend the game itself and kind of filter into your everyday life. But I do want to talk about life on the field, and how did those 5 values make you a Hall of Fame football player, and how did they help you become the player that you were?
One of the ways it helped me was with my teammates, to where I felt as if you were as strong as your weakest guy. And so for me in practice, some guys you would watch, they would work out on their own, trying to push themselves, but I would push my teammates, and I would include my teammates in everything I was doing to show them, to show, but also encourage them to get better. And because for your teammates and your friends, and especially in the National Football League, guys leave and go to other places. And I knew that sometimes guys would leave, but he would take what I have been learning, what we've been learning, and take it elsewhere and help them succeed. Some guys would leave football, go into being coaches, and the things that we were taught, we learned, they would take it and go other places with it. But I think it just overall, things I learned, it helped me become a better person because It made me care about my friends, my teammates, and it always, for me, it helped me to always look at things positively and always just take that extra, wake up every morning positive and believe that if I had a bad day the day before, that the next day was going to be a positive day and I was going to have a successful day.
Well, I like that. We should put that on a t-shirt too. That was a joke we said before the program started. And I think it's cool, all those values, we talked about your first, talked about your mom and how she had those values and taught you, to be the best that you can be. But can you give us an example of, when you're in the game of football, you're in the huddle, you're at a practice, you're in a film session, whatever it might be, something you learned from one of those scenarios that you were like, oh, I could really use this in my everyday life. Can you give us an example of that?
Yeah. For example, this thing we had on the football field was we would write the word finish on your shoes, on top of your shoes. And most people were like, hey, why do you write the word finish? When you get tired, you have a tendency to look down. And so we would look down and see the word finish. And that meant finish the plays. So it was something that I would write on all the other guys' shoes. And it became to where we started writing the shoe color. It would be purple, it would be blue. And I started seeing guys on other teams having it red. And it just kind of filtered out to other guys. I mean, it just kind of went out like flood went out and everybody else was doing it. But it was little things that we did where you'd be standing in the huddle and if you put your hands on your waist, someone knock your hands off. And it was just something that we all included as a group to do.
I think it's really cool. Before we get to our students' questions, I do have one more question here. What are Purple Fridays?
Purple Fridays, they got started during COVID, where I was sitting at home, my wife and my kids, and I had a tendency, we all had a tendency not to want to get dressed up. So we put on sweats or whatever. Well, for me, since I'm kind of a clothes guy, clothes guru type of guy, I like to wear my pants starch and all this and that. So on Fridays, I'll wear something purple. And I just kept doing it. And first my wife was like, what are you doing? Why are you wearing a purple shirt? I'm like, it's Purple Friday. And I started posting it and she was like, first she was shaking her head like, oh my Lord, someone help this man. And I continued to do it. And I started getting all these followers. And my wife started following me. And all of a sudden I knew I had her when she looked at me. I was trying to do my own selfie. And she goes, let me help you. And I went, oh yeah, I'm on board. But I still continue to do it every Friday. And I take these purple pictures, me wearing purple. I could be in California. I'm gonna do one here in Indy. I've done it all over the country, golf courses, restaurants, celebrities, people all over. But it's my Purple Friday represents the Minnesota Vikings, the first team that allowed me a chance to play as a free agent. And it's all about respect to the purple. And I always got something purple on. So that's how I got started.
Awesome. Very cool. I think it's cool, especially during the NFL season, you'll throw a little shade at the teams the Vikings are playing. If you aren't following John on any of social media, I will say it's a pretty good follow. We're going to start taking questions from our students. So students, it's the opportunity for you to learn a little bit about our Hall of Famer here today, on or off the field. So we're going to start with the students right here at Heron for our first question. So we got a question right here. Go ahead.
Coming into the league as an undrafted rookie, it must have been like very intimidating to like integrate into a new league. Was there any like veteran on the team that like helped you, become familiar? And how did you use their teachings when you were a veteran for other rookies?
Oh my God. So when you come into the National Football League back in the day, when I was a rookie, they treat you wrong. They make you carry the shoulder pads, the helmets, and every Saturday you had to go get donuts, and not the ones you get at a gas station. You had to go get a 36 to 86 donuts with milk for the guy. You had to do it every Saturday during the season. But there was a guy named Henry Thomas who took me in and helped me. But I got to tell you this funny story. When I first met Henry Thomas, he was this black dude, but he was wearing chaps. He had like a motorcycle outfit, cowboy hat, boots, and he was like, "I'm gonna take care of you." And I'm looking at him like, "No, you ain't." I'm like, "I'm not. No, I'm good." But he did that, and by my by my fourth, fifth year, I had so many guys that I was bringing underneath my wing. I had guys who come to my house. I mean, I was like, "Where you went?" Because I had food and stuff. So there's a lot of guys that I took underneath my wings, and they used to call them little Johnnies and this and that. But for me, it was like little brothers, and I never had a little brother. So for me, it was cool that I could help guys not just fulfill their dreams about being in the National Football League, but I could help guide guys through their lives. And I always tell guys that after I've taught you, next time I see you, I want to see a smile on your face because, you know, I've done my job. I've done my part to help you. And even to this day, I still meet so many guys that I have taught, hung out with, and cried together. We celebrated together. And it's just such a wonderful thing.
How is important it is, or is it for students even of this age? You know, we got some high school students, we got other ages connected in today, to either try and become that mentor to somebody else, or even look up to somebody, because you know they're in that range where they're starting to really think about what they want to do with their lives and what they want to go to college, what they want to study. And there's people that have already done that. Henry Thomas, had already been a player in the NFL, so that's someone you looked up to. How important is it for students to really do that themselves?
It's important because you never know who's watching you. So when you may be think you're talking to one person, but you may be talking to two, you could be talking to 8 people. I think about when I was playing, for instance, there was a guy who worked at this hotel. He was the guy who opened the door for people. And I used to just stop and talk to this guy and just saying hello. And the guy told me a couple of years later that I saved his life because when everyone just saw him as just the doorman, I saw him as more than that. And so a lot of times you don't realize whose lives that you're impacting day to day. And you don't even know it, and it could be 5th grade, 4th grade. We know that kids get bullied online now, and you never know whose life you can impact. And you never know that it could go full circle. They may come back to you when you're older and help you, and then all of a sudden says to you, "You don't remember this, but you stopped and helped me, or you did this for me." So it's good to have it that you just never know whose life you're impacting and whose life you could change.
All right, we're gonna take another question from our students right here, Heron. So if you got a question, raise your hand. Don't be shy. All right, go ahead.
Did you play any other sports when you were growing up? And do you think it's important for kids when they're young is there value in kind of trying different things out?
Playing other sports, yeah.
Playing other sports. So I grew up, like I said, I grew up in a little small town, 150 people. School only went to the 8th grade. Then you could take a bus to another school. That's another whole big story. But I played soccer. I wanted to be a guy named Pele. I thought I was going to be Pele. Until the junior high coach said, "I'm sorry, son, but you're hitting and running and everybody's not going to work." But I did. In junior high, I did soccer. I got to high school. I tried to run track. I tried to throw a thing called a shot put, and that just wasn't in my repertoire. But I tried to play baseball, tried to do basketball. Basketball, I got fouled out in first quarter. But now football was what I gravitated toward. Now, for instance, I didn't set out to play football. Most people, you guys you go out and play. Growing up in a little small town, I kind of inherited this nickname. I had big hands and big feet, so everybody called me Bigfoot. And so I got to the 9th grade, and I remember walking in that locker room into the equipment room to get the shoes and the helmet. And I told the guy for the helmet, 7.5. I told him the shoe size. 13. He was like 13, 7.5. I go, you have that back there? He goes, yeah. You need anything else? I'm like, no. I felt normal. So I didn't say I played football, but it's just for me, was finding the right group of people that I fit in with. And that, for me, was like, yes, I have found my calling. And it was just me finding the right group to hang out with. But I can't explain it, but that's just where it was for me. But I didn't necessarily want to play football. I thought with this voice I could be Louis Armstrong waiting for y'all's time. But yeah.
Awesome, very cool. All right, we're gonna go send it out to one of our schools connected in virtually today. We're gonna go to North Ridgeville Academic Center back in Northeast Ohio. Only a few short hours from here where we're at in Indy. So our folks there at North Ridgeville going to have a student step up, state their name, the grade that they're in, and then go ahead with their question.
Hello, I'm Zach Bayer, and I was asking, why did you choose number 93?
Oh, that's a very good question. So when I got into the National Football League, coming in as a free agent, you couldn't pick your number. So they gave me a number that no one else had success with. Everybody who had the number 93 didn't last long. So I got the number. I was the first person to wear it, and the rest is history. But that's why I got that number. That was thanks to our equipment manager, Dennis Ryan, at the time, who said, hey, just give him 93. But he gave me like a size 5XL, which I was getting grabbed in practice. But that was the reason I chose the number 93.
Awesome. Can you talk a little bit about, because, we hear it, you hear from guys, and it's usually, once they retire, talking about that equipment staff. And, you've been out of the game. Oh, a little bit. A little bit. But you remember them by name. How important is that staff, and how, they sometimes go unnoticed. So talk a little bit about how important that was for you and the team, and then how these students can kind of look at maybe staff at their school or people they see at restaurants or other things. That staff that kind of goes unnoticed.
For the NFL, the equipment people, and because when I played 11 years in Minnesota, finished up in Seattle, and Seattle's equipment guy name is Eric Kennedy, EK, I love you, baby. But they're so important because they, like for your shoulder pads, when I got to Minnesota, my shoulder pads were too big, and I'm like, I need smaller shoulder pads. He said some people in hell need ice cubes, and he goes, they're not getting it, and so you're not going to get it. But they're so important because they help you transition. And for Minnesota at the time, through Randle shoulder pad company, we did something that revolutionized the game today. If you wouldn't know it until you got into the NFL, but the guy's shoulder pad, we used to put mud flaps on them on the inside so no one could grab you on your armpits. And Dennis Ryan helped start that. He also helped start the face shield. And but they're important because those guys for an NFL, they spend at least 15 to 18 hours a day. When NFL teams fly to another city, no one noticed that those guys come in early. They're loading the equipment off the truck, taking to the facilities. Then afterwards, when teams fly back the night after the game, you go home, you get off the plane, you go home. Those guys stay there till like 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, washing the equipment, make sure everything is put back in the locker rooms. They're so important to the organizations that for when Dennis Ryan, who just retired, we just did a celebration, and me, John Randle, Hall of Famer, was there to thank Dennis Ryan because over the years, you spend so much time together. I got to know his kids, his son Ben, his wife. We go to their house because Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, you spend that time together because so you're family, you're community, and those people do so much for you, and not just football. Your cooking staff, your janitors, and they take pride in what they do. And so why not say thank you for what you're doing? Because they have families, but they make sacrifices for the betterment of you and your and students and stuff. So my mom, who was a maid, worked at a motel for 15 years and cleaning up rooms. So like I said, you never know how you could thank a person and never know how far it would go by you thanking them.
Awesome. Well, a way we show in Canton, a thank you to all of our Hall of Famers in a roundabout way, is honoring your legacy and you playing the game, part of our mission, honoring the greatest of the game, preserving his history. At our core, at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we're a museum. We're there preserving the history of the game of football from the day it started up until we're going to have artifacts probably on the play from the Super Bowl, where, it's a full timeline of NFL history. So during the program, we like to showcase, what we do as a museum. So we thought, what better way than doing that than going to the most popular area of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and that's our Hall of Fame gallery. So Nathan Martin, who's a youth education leadership coordinator, is actually out in our Hall of Fame gallery right now in front of something that's going to look very, very familiar to you. So Nathan, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Jake, and Mr. Randle. Thanks for being a part of the program today. As Jake was telling all of our students and viewers here, I'm standing in the Pro Football Hall of Fame gallery, and I'm in front of the class of 2010. All right, and there's some names in here that I think all football fans would recognize. You got the all-time leading receiver in Jerry Rice, the all-time leading rusher in Emmitt Smith, but I noticed this guy right here, 137 and a half sacks. Mr. John Randle's bronze bust is a part of this class of 2010. And to put it in perspective of how special it is to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, especially for our students so they can understand this, there have been over 300 million people that have played the game of football at all levels, from the Pop Warner days to the high school days, over 300 million. Only 5 million have been good enough to play in college. So just to play in college is a great accomplishment. About 30,000 players have played in the history of the National Football League, the 100-plus year history. And there's only 378 men that can say that they're Pro Football Hall of Famers. And you're listening to one today in Mr. John Randle. So it is an elite group, the elite of the elite. So it's very special that we get to have him today with us. And right here is his bronze bust, one of those three iconic symbols. He's got the gold jacket on. They get the K Jewelers Ring of Excellence as well. But I got a question for you, Mr. Randle. I'm in here. I'm surrounded by greatness. There's all these great players. And I know you played with several Hall of Famers, and you heard guys referencing that there in the beginning. But is there a guy you didn't play with? Maybe he played before your time. He's played since then. That if you're sitting there and you're dreaming, you're like, man, it would have been really, really cool to suit up and have fill in the blank, this guy on my team, and go to battle with this guy. Maybe something fun just to think about. Who is that guy for you?
Oh my God, it's easy. It's Deacon Jones. I mean, Deacon carved the word sack. I mean, which now is just a word that everybody commonly use in the NFL for a sack or college. So for me, Deacon Jones, I had the pleasure of taking Deacon to his last Hall of Fame enshrinement, and the honor is sitting next to him. But to be in the presence of a man who started the word sack, and that for us, myself, Lawrence Taylor, Bruce Smith, Derek Thomas, all the guys who known for rushing the quarterback, that term came from Deacon. So to have played with Deacon Jones, man, just incredible. I know when I'm around Lawrence Taylor, and I know this is a guy who I saw in college, and him coming out on the field and watching it, and then getting the pros to see him play, and then being in the hall with Lawrence, how it's such a wonderful thing. But to be able to play with Deacon Jones, for the man who turned the word sack into what it is today, such an amazing thing. I know this year we actually started a new club for everybody who has over 100 sacks, and we'll be giving out black jackets that have the words 100 Sack Club on it. And I know with the first jacket that will be presented to Deacon's widow, and to be at that presentation to honor his wife with that jacket, that to me it's the second best thing to being able to play with Deacon Jones.
I think that's special. And what I love there is I can hear it in your voice, just the level of respect and reverence that you have for him. And I think that's something our students can take. Someone who's accomplished as much as you have, to be able to sit back and pay respects to someone like that. That's really, really special. But I also noticed it wasn't a quarterback, so I don't know if you just don't like quarterbacks or something, chasing them
No, I don't
around.
like quarterback. I do not like quarterbacks. Sorry, I don't like them. Like the
So
sack.
with that, I'll send it back to Jake. I know our students have more questions, but thank you, Mr. Randle, for being a part of the program.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thanks, Nathan, for that insight there, that look into the Hall of Fame gallery. I want to talk about, you talked about that idea of respect. And those of you that don't know, if you tune in for the program, you know what I'm going to say is every August, you know, all of our Hall of Famers come back to Canton for our annual enshrinement ceremony. And there's a luncheon that takes place that only Hall of Famers can go to. So only if you have a jacket on. No media, no Hall of Fame staff, not even our president of the Hall of Fame is in this luncheon. It's just Hall of Famers. So you're around all these other people that you grew up watching, and you know, you're getting to the point now where there's guys coming in who grew up watching you.
Yes. Yeah.
What is that? Because we know there's obviously respect on the field between the white lines, those 4 to 6 seconds that you're playing. There maybe not be. But after that time's over, there is definitely a high level of respect. But now you're in a room with guys like Deacon Jones. You know, you went into the Hall of Fame with Jerry Rice and Emmitt Smith, 2 of the greatest at their position. What's that level of respect like in that room when you're all the Hall of Famers are all together?
You know, I can only say this because I was around Marcus Allen, who's a Hall of Famer, and he said, I think he said it the best way. He goes, when you come off into that room with all those gold jackets, you know, guys leave their egos outside. And it's like a high school reunion. And it's such a cool thing. I mean, I never imagined myself being in Pro Football Hall of Fame. I just love playing football. I love being a person. I knew growing up I wasn't going to have a job inside the building because I love screaming and hollering. I love being outside. But in that room, and it is going back into history and witnessing that, not from, it's witnessing as being a part of it. Seeing the guys, because for instance, we all have our numbers in the jackets, and mine is 258. And it's going in a room with history and being around these guys who I've watched play. It's like watching superheroes, you know, X-Men, you know, and so being around those guys is such a special honor that for me personally, I text a lot of guys, and I had to teach a few guys how to text and stuff, but we do FaceTime, but I do that a lot with the guys, and I got photos. I got multiple photos of me and the guys together. From my guy, with Emmitt Smith. I actually talk with Thurman and Bruce Smith at least 3 to 4 times a week, and man, since they're on Buffalo time, they're texting me at 4 a.m., 2 a.m. But it's such a wonderful thing that I never thought I would be a part of. Such a unique club.
That's very, very cool. All right, we got some other schools out there who got some questions to ask. So we're going to go to Hempfield High School in Landisville, Pennsylvania for our next question. So folks there at Hempfield, go ahead and unmute your microphone, state your name, the grade that you're in, and then go ahead with your question.
All right. I'm Caden Buckwalter. I'm in 10th grade. And then my question is, how did your work ethic change when you realized there was an opportunity for you to go to the NFL?
Oh my God. So you guys are asking wonderful questions, and a lot of questions that not many people knew I did all this stuff. But when I got to the NFL, one of the things that I did, because I wanted to be a pass rusher, I would take this, I went by this garage sale and got this sofa cushions, and I taped them to these trees. So I would work on my pass rush moves on these trees. And where pass rushing became a second nature type thing. I also studied Jukundo, karate, to help me with my hand placement. And if you notice, I'm always moving my hands because pass rushers, you always got to move your hands. So, but I would do that. I was working on my moves in the grocery store. I never talked to anybody face up. I was stand and talk to you to half of your body. I never looked anybody in the eyes. I looked at you in your chest. It just made me keep pushing myself because I wanted to be one of the best players who played the game. I wanted to show them that they all made a mistake by not drafting me and having me walk on as a free agent. So in practice, when most guys were taking it easy, I went full throttle. I never stopped because I had something to prove every day that to show the guys I was going against, especially if you got drafted first round or second round and you came into training camp and you had this chip on your shoulder, first thing I would ask you is, hey, what school are you from? You said, like, I'm from Ohio State. I'm like, the Ohio State? Wow, that's wonderful. Well, today I'm gonna lower you down to my level, Mr. Ohio State. And I had a habit of doing that. I did that to guys from Matt Burke from Harvard. So you're a smart dude. You're not smart enough to realize going against me, bad decision.
As an Ohio State fan, that one felt a little personal.
I'm sorry.
That one felt a little personal.
It is what it is.
All right, our next question, we're gonna go to Highland Middle School for our next question. So our folks there at Highland, go ahead and have your students step up, state your name, and then go ahead with your question there at Highland. Looks like they're getting ready. All right, looks like we got a kid coming up now. All right, go ahead.
There you go. There we go.
Hi, my name is Layman, and I'm in 7th grade. How important do you feel accountable is on and off the field?
Being accountable.
Being accountable is very, very important. And football, I mean, I can only say this from the NFL and stuff, but when coaches tell you to be there at 1 o'clock, 1 p.m., it actually means 12:45. You always got to be on time. My 14 years, I was never late because I was always early. But accountability in the NFL, you are taught that you can't have no distractions. So you being late, that's a distraction. And if it just doesn't affect you, it affects the team. So accountability, something my wife always tells me about, because when we talk about it, always be accountable because there's other people dependent on you to do your part. We see ourselves as a spoke in the wheel. I don't know if you guys still ride bicycles, but I do. So you do a spoke in the wheel. And if one spoke is broken, it doesn't go correctly. And so that's where I see accountability. And I'm always telling my team from the NFL Legends community, you got to be accountable. We have a meeting that started at 1. I need you on at 12:30 to make sure that you're going to be on time. And another level of accountability is you call your friend to make sure that they're going to be on that call. So that's how I see accountability. I'm always looking out for everybody else.
No, you're probably not going to like this, but it sounds like a little like Lombardi time.
Yes.
You know, as a Viking-Packers rivalry there with Lombardi time, what is it? If you're on time, you're late.
Yeah.
And if you're early, you're on time.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes, that's all, because it's something that the NFL, we used to sit there in the meeting room. You showed up late, man, the light comes on, and they want to know, where were you at? What was more important than this meeting? You got 60-some guys in this room counting on you. You just let them down. Now walk around that room and tell every person that you're sorry that you let them down. That's the way
That's accountability.
Yes,
That's
it
accountability
is.
for sure. All right. We got one more school we'd like to get to here before we wrap up. We're going to go over to Upper Sandusky High School for our next question. So folks there at Upper Sandusky, go ahead, have your students step up, state their name, unmute your microphone, and then go ahead with your question.
Hi, I'm Ava Saul. I'm a 10th grader. As a child, what events in your life do you believe helped shape you into the man you are today?
Oh my God. Events was for me, since we had an outhouse, we didn't have indoor running water. My 2 older brothers, we all slept in one bed. It made me appreciate the love that we have for each other, because we didn't have much food, but we would take it, and like on Christmas, we didn't have Christmas gifts, so we would share stories. We would wrap up baseball bat or old toy, And it just made me appreciate that life sometimes you don't get what you want, but appreciate what you do have. I had a roof over my head. I had sometimes a meal at dinner. And so it just made me appreciate what I had. And that's the way I take life, that it's not what I'm not, don't have, what I do have. And that's what I tell my kids, that you got to work hard and keep going forward, stay driven, but always just appreciate what you have. Because, and another part for me was that I got bullied a lot as a kid. I didn't always, I thought I wasn't the smart kid till I learned I had attention deficit. So it made me work harder. And so from having all those difficulties, I worked harder to try to do my part and just appreciate what I had and never give up.
Awesome. Thanks for those great questions, students. Those were great. Awesome to hear the insight we have here from Mr. Randle. A couple more questions here before we wrap up. Talk a little bit about your career. Obviously, you talked about going up against Matt Burke and, playing with other people on your team, but I want to talk about those opponents. Was there ever a guy when you knew you had to put in extra work that week because you were going up against him as an offensive lineman or another team? Was there a guy for you that you kind of circled that one on the calendar knowing that, all right, this one's going to take a little bit of extra work?
Yeah. Okay. Story I can tell in front of everybody here. I'll give you one. It's a guy named, his name's Steve Winooski, played for the Raiders. He was known for being a dirty player. So I kind of had to know about Steve's history. I had to know that, where he lived at, his family did, what they kind of all did for holidays, where they went on vacation. So I had to realize that Steve was kind of he would take shots at you. So I learned that he was a guy who would try to grab you and stuff. And so I just kind of pushed it to where I kind of knew things that he would do. So I had to really prepare for Steve. You had to really work on him trying to cut blocks you, or chop block you. So I always put a little extra effort in it, and Steve. But most of all, I think the team for me though was Green Bay and Wisconsin, your Packers. So Green Bay, Minnesota is a huge rivalry there. So when we go to Wisconsin, we would stay in the same hotel as the Packer fans. So they would be, say stuff to you. And I learned how to, you could say whatever you wanted to me. I would smile in your face and just tell you afterwards, we're going to destroy your quarterback. We're going to destroy him. But going to Green Bay, man, they don't have cheerleaders. They don't, you probably know more than I do, but no cheerleaders. You guys play the same corny song. Dun, 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 go back, go.
Yep.
And that's all they would play. And this has been going on for years. And then they all of a sudden they did this thing in Wisconsin. You gotta listen to the story. So they told the fans that you can own equity in the stadium, in the team, but you can only buy 2 shares at $100 a piece. So they sold $50 million worth to the fans. And they said this stock is worthless. All right? You got me? And so they said it's worthless. 2 years later, they do it again. They raised $45 million. Some places that's illegal. But they do this in Wisconsin. So you go to Wisconsin to play, it's crazy. I'm probably rambling on about it, but so they like the season tickets, they have given them down. You guys give them to your grandparents, your great-grandparents, and you put them in your wheels. So Wisconsin is a strange place to play. And man, you go there, you got to deal with some craziness. One day we decided to go to the stadium early. We took this SUV. The guy had us almost back in Minnesota. So when you play Wisconsin or the Packers, man, it's crazy. And in Minnesota, we got a lot of Packer fans that run around, they drive around. One of my neighbors moved in next to me just because he was a Packer fan. It's been 15 years and I haven't spoken to this guy in 15 years. That's all I gotta say about that.
We talk about these rivalries and how important that they are, and it comes with the little trash talk comes with that territory. And if anybody's ever search John Randle on YouTube or Google, you've probably come up with a 5-6 minutes trash talk video.
Don't believe it.
And we you joke about it, and you'd say all this stuff, but it is a tactic in the game of football, and it is a tactic that you use very successfully. And we do laugh about it, but how important was it for your game, and how much did it make you a better player?
Oh, yeah. So I got to give you a PG story. So there was this guy who played at Notre Dame. He had heard these stories, so he playing against me. First play, man, he fires off, hits, boom, and I'm like, oh. So I cranked up the lawnmower, and I read the stories that he had bought 2 cars. He bought a Chevy Tahoe and a '64 Impala. So I just kept asking for those keys throughout the game. And by the end of the second quarter, halftime, he didn't come back on the field. So I went over to their sideline and I was asking for those keys to that Impala, because I need to take it back to Minnesota, because Minnesota, we would take advantage of drive this car. It seemed like a very nice car that I read the story on. And he didn't come back in the game. We played against Brett Favre, and we destroyed Brett Favre because this guard didn't come back in the game. He was a first-round pick. And I didn't know this, but afterwards, I talked to Reggie White, and I asked Reggie White, I said, hey, what happened to that nice guy that was playing across from me? Because I missed going against him. He was such a nice guy. We were having fun. We were singing and dancing. And Reggie told me, he said, what I did to that guy was wrong. That we needed to pray about it. That this guy refused to come back in the game. I mean, I went over to the sideline. I was talking to him like, hey, man, come on back. But I was saying in a very aggressive way. And I'm sorry that I said that. So today I want to apologize. If you listen, I didn't mean it.
A few more questions here before we wrap up. Obviously, going throughout your career, known as one of the greatest interior defensive linemen, how important is it to remain humble through all that success, and how hard is it, especially when the accolades and the stories start coming, throughout your career?
Oh, that's a very good question. I'm very humble. Like I said, I didn't think I belonged in the Hall of Fame. I saw myself still see myself as just the guy who gave 110% every day. God blessed me with a few more things, and I used them, but I don't see myself as good. I wasn't a good football player or a great football player. I was just a guy who went out and gave my all, because you can start falling into that trap of believing all that stuff and thinking you this and that, and you're not. I am just like the rest of, put my pants on one leg at a time. I make mistakes like the rest. I mean, I make mistakes. I remember my wife's birthday, but no, but it's just we're all the same. Like I told you, you make sacrifices, you give you all you have to, and you don't know where your journey is going to take you, but you're giving your all. You're putting everything you got into yourself, because sometimes when we believe in other people, or we make investment in other things, you got to make investment into yourself, because in this room, it could be 3 to 4 Hall of Famers, governors, mayors in this room. And that's why you got to believe in yourself. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't accomplish anything. You can, but it starts with you and believing that you can do it. And me, from a town of 150 people, where they told me I was going to drive a John Deere tractor for the rest of my life. But here I am. And I always say this, I think the reason when I'm talking to people, because I'm supposed to tell somebody or people who are not believing in themselves that you can follow your dream and you can accomplish your dreams. You just got to believe it. And don't let anyone try to tell you that you can't.
Awesome. As we mentioned in the beginning, obviously the NFL Combine is getting started here as the new NFL calendar turns over. We start the next NFL season here in Indianapolis. Obviously, you talked about your career, weren't invited to the Combine, but you are so much involved with it now. If we happen to be live streaming in that room and every player invited to the Combine is watching this, or you get to be in front of them all and you have one thing you want them to learn, being at the Combine, what it takes to be an NFL player. What is that one thing, that one message you want all those Combine participants to hear, to know?
I think one of the things for most players who are coming into the NFL is that they kind of get overwhelmed by being in the game because everything is coming at you different speeds all over the place. But I would tell the guys that are playing or getting ready to play, one of the biggest things you can do is film study. That's know your opponent, know the secondary, know the coverage from what they're running. I think Tom Brady has said it, how much he studied film. I know I studied it every day. And there's so many guys, we've heard from guys like Johnny Manziel who never studied and all of a sudden figured out that film study is so important because it gives you an advantage over your opponent. A lot of guys, they come in, they want to, like they say in New York, guys used to try to turn off all the lights in New York, which you never can. But taking that time to study, because studying the game, you will see little insights to making you a better player. I can remember sitting and watching a quarterback one time play for the Cincinnati Bengals named Boomer Esiason. We watched film on him so much that we picked up this one little trait, one little thing we picked up that led us to 11 sacks in one game because he simply double snapped his helmet on pass and single snapped it on run. And man, we were able to tee off on him every play, get 11 sacks.
Very cool. Flip side of that, last question here. And before we ask, I do want to thank you so much for being here, talking to the students today. Obviously, you're in town to work the Combine, busy schedule, next couple of days coming up. So we thank you for giving us time out of your busy schedule for the program today. Just ask, what do you want the Combine participants to know? Now I want to ask what you want everybody watching this program to take away. So the students here, everybody watching online, and even all, the staff, adults, teachers here to take away. If there's one message you want students to walk away with today, it can be something we've talked about already or something you haven't mentioned yet. What's that one key thing you want them to take away today?
I think everyone watching this has the potential to be a Hall of Famer. I think we all do. It starts with the decisions that we're making. You have to be careful about the decision that you may not realize will affect you, but it will. You have to be very careful. And like I said, back to sacrifices, but I think everybody has the potential to be Hall of Famers. Growing up as a kid, I saw guys who were more talented, faster, smarter, bigger, stronger than me. But one of the things that changed it was the decisions that I made to stay out of trouble, to stay focused on myself, of things that you can't control. I think that's one of the bases of saying that everybody has the potential. It's just in us, it's just inside of us to bring it out and to believe, and you will succeed.
All right. Can't think of a better way to wrap up this installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer series, connected by Extreme Networks, featuring Hall of Famer class 2010 member John Randle. Let's give John one other big round of applause. To everybody who tuned in today, thank you so much. Again, John, thank you for everything you've done for the game of football. Thank you for everything you do for us at the Hall of Fame and will continue to do for the game and the Hall of Fame down the road. So for myself, Mr. Randle here, everybody back at the Pro Football Hall of Fame and all the students and staff here at Heron, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope to see you next time. Bye, everybody.
School bites.
Go!
Yeah.